The webinar will begin shortly. Please remain on the line. The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Okay, welcome everybody to OSHPD's IOR series on IOR training. This is session 3 of a 5-part session. This session is titled "How to Speak IOR." Today, June 17th, 2020. I will be your presenter today. My name is Cesar Ponce, and I'm also going to be on here kind of guiding the presentation as we go along. So thank you for joining us. First and foremost, want to go through some housekeeping items for you. Just know that if you're new to the GoTo software, the GoTo does allow you to ask questions in the question box. So please go ahead, find that question box in your panel and type your question in there. We'll answer the questions the best we can. Also know that you're going to be muted throughout the presentation. This is a pretty lengthy presentation, so we're going to go through it fairly quick. Know that we did upload some handouts for you on that GoTo. Once you registered, you should have a handout there. So if you have issues or need problems or we're going too fast with the information, download that. Or if you can't download it and don't find it or having issues, you can email us at oshpd.fdd.isu@oshpod.ca.gov, and we can forward that to you. That's no problem. So again, thank you for joining us. This is session 3 of a 5-part series, and we're going to go through some helpful tips as to how to speak IOR. Hopefully you find this helpful. If you're an IOR already, whether you're a Class C looking to move up to Class B or A, or even entertaining the idea of becoming an IOR, this is a great session for you to attend, and along with all of our other sessions and any of the presentations that we have here at OSHPD. So with that being said, thank you, and we're off and running with the presentation. The agenda items that we're going to go over is how to succeed as an IOR, IOR safety, what's a TIO, who is responsible for what, IORs and inspections, IORs and OSHPD, IOR daily reports and field records, construction deviations and what to do with that, notices to OSHPD, and the California Energy Commission forms. So this is going to be, again, a lot of information, so keep up, and if you miss something or need further clarification, feel free to use that question box in the GoTo software. So with that being said, how to succeed. Successful IOR, and how do you do that? So just know that OSHPD certification is not enough. This goes along with ICC certification or any other certification that you have. You should really have good knowledge comparable to the types of projects that you're assigned to as an IOR. So if you have a certification, just taking the exam and passing the exam is not gonna help you if you don't have that relevant experience. And it's good to have that experience and the background, and also know that with that, it's going to be one of the main points that I'm going to point out today is to be able to use your resources. If you don't have comparable experience, use your resources, whether it's another IOR or OSHPD, and we'll get into more into that as we go along through the presentation. And just know that you as an IOR, you help the project succeed. You need to have good communication. You need to have good code of ethics as well. Professionalism as an IOR. IORs are employed by the hospital governing board or authority approved by OSHPD and under the direction of the DPOR. And the DPOR is something that I'm going to mention fairly often during this presentation. And it's, DPOR is the design professional of record. That could be anything from an architect or an engineer, or some sort of engineer licensed engineer, of course. Your duty to the project as an IOR you need to avoid contingent arrangements, quid pro quo, or this for that. Be sure that your standard, your code of ethics is high, and make sure that you don't come in and say, I'm going to go ahead and let that slide if you do this other thing for me. That's, avoid those kind of arrangements. Don't accept gifts from approved agencies, special inspectors, third-party agencies, and DPORs, again, the design professional of records or construction managers. And I hope this is all common sense for you, but, we figured, throw that in there and then kind of point it out again. Professionalism. Continue. You have a duty to the public as an IOR. You need to be a professional. Only inspect the things in your area of understanding. Again, this is a great point. Be able to go out there on the job as you're walking these jobs. Your job may be smaller, might be large. Always use your best judgment. If you're asked to look at something that's outside of your wheelhouse or your comfort level, pick up the phone and call a compliance officer or a DSC, district structural engineer from OSHPD or FLSO, fire life safety officer. Be able to use your resources in OSHPD to ask questions. And there's no silly question. We're here to help. Only be objective in your inspections and reporting. Be fair, honest, and act in good faith in the performance of your duties. Make sure that you're out there doing the best you can. These jobs at times could be difficult, and it could be that you've had a past experience where you left a bad taste in your mouth. Just be sure to enforce the code and what it says. Read the code if you're not sure. Again, ask the compliance officer or another IOR. So first poll question is, who employs IOR? Is it the design professional of record, hospital governing board or authority, the project manager, or the contractor? If you answered hospital governing board or authority, you're right. Keep in mind that you're not employed as an IOR. As an IOR, you're not employed by the design professional or the architect or engineer, the project manager, or the contractor. And that's important to know because in the long run, the hospital owner, they're the ones coming in and saying, yes, we choose you. We're going to have you inspect our project. Even though you're going to have very lengthy interaction with the design professional of record, the project managers, and the contractors, just know that who your employer is, and what as you go along with your daily IOR activities. IOR safety, personal protective equipment, or PPE, as we're going to refer to it as. The California Department of Health, or CDPH, provides precautionary measures and a list of PPEs to prevent respiratory illness, including COVID-19. So COVID-19, it's something that, I haven't experienced, and this is proving to be pretty difficult and challenging. So as an IOR, you're out there in the field along with OSHPD field personnel and other stakeholders, or stakeholders meaning someone who has a vested interest in your project. You're challenged, and you're challenged out there doing the work while walking these job sites. And we're going to go over that as to how to help you, give you pointers as to how to handle that. CDPH recommends the following precautionary measures to prevent respiratory illness, including COVID-19. So wash your hands with soap and water. Clean and disinfect frequently touched surfaces daily. If surfaces are dirty, clean them using detergent or soap and water prior to disinfection. Avoid touching your eyes, nose, or mouth with unwashed hands. And I think if anything, this is very, very important. All three bullet points here is, just be cautious. And if you are in an area where you have to touch something or climb a ladder or, get on your hands and knees to get under some plumbing, don't touch your eyes, your nose, or your mouth before you wash your hands. Very, very important. Cover your cough or sneeze with a tissue or your elbow. Avoid close contact with people who are sick. Staying away from work, school, or other people if you become sick with some symptoms like fever and cough. PPE continued. All personnel shall wear a mask. Is what we're telling people, and other additional items considered by the CDPH as optional are gowns, aprons, goggles, face shields, face masks, respirators, and gloves. The following shall be followed to maintain the health and safety of IORs, OSHPD personnel, and other stakeholders during a pandemic. So keep in mind that this is good items to follow when you're out there in the field. A safe meeting place where you can maintain social distancing, of course, 6 feet from each other. Limit the number of IORs, inspectors, DPORs, or design professional of records, construction managers, or installing contractors. When you're out there coming in and doing your inspections, people are going to want to join you during your inspections, and you're going to, next thing you know, you're going to have a full entourage of people that are wanting to join the inspection, whether it's the inspection of an underground plumbing, fire lines, electrical conduits, or rough framing, or whatever it is. You're going to have people wanting to join you. And for now, it's a good idea to limit those people joining you for those types of inspections. Be sure to inspect only the areas of work only. IOR should not be taken in construction areas that are not related to the work being done. And if the area of construction involves COVID-19 patients, proper PPE shall be worn by all before entering into the area. So make sure that you protect yourselves. If the area of inspection involves roof construction, the person responsible for guiding the IORs on the roof needs to make sure that they identify all of the roof vents, where they are on the roof, what area of the facility the vents are exhausting, like COVID-19 isolation rooms, ORs, ICUs, laundries, etc. Making sure and steering the IORs and OSHPD staff away from those areas. So you want to make sure that you know where they are and how they're going to do that. So they need to provide you a roof plan of this information before you get on the roof. That way, once you get on the roof, if you have a vent that's fairly close, you need to that's going to be fairly close to the area you're inspecting. You need to be able to stay away from that area as well. A poll question. When guiding the inspection team through the facility, the guide shall be responsible for what? Avoiding non-construction related areas, avoiding all areas with COVID-19 patients, identify all the roof vents exhausting COVID-19 areas, provide the inspection team a roof plan, or all of the above. If you chose all of the above, you're right. All of these items here are essential for your job as you're walking the job, and it doesn't have to be on the roof. If you're walking through an area that you may have to walk through a room or an infected area, make sure that you know that. Make sure that you have that conversation with the person, with the construction manager or the contractor as they guide you through the work. So, what is a testing, inspection, and observation program, the TIO? So this TIO program is crucial to OSHPD projects, and we're going to go over why in just a sec. So the TIO is a guide to assist the design professionals in the administration of construction projects under OSHPD's jurisdiction, and increases the collaboration, accountability, and cooperation, provides assistance for the efficient development and implementation of the code-required tests, and clarifies the roles and responsibilities of the parties involved, and it better defines the milestones in each project. So this is a tool. This is a tool for the design professional to come in and do the administration of the actual project. Now, notice that we didn't say that the TIO is administered by the IOR. Again, if you've been a part of our previous sessions, you'll know that the TIO program is not administered by the IOR. It's actually administered by the design professional, and that's a code requirement. So this is what the TIO program looks like. This is a sample of Section B, where the design professional will put a checkbox on the left-hand side where it says required, and they put a box in that section. If the soil fill needs to be tested, if soil and rock anchors need to be looked at, deep foundation elements, and again, this is just a sample. On the right-hand side, you'll see in a vertical position, compliance verification by the IOR. That's where you as an IOR will come in and initial and date if you agree with their findings and if everything's okay per the required test. And then next to that box, you'll see OSHPD/FDD use. And that's where we will go ahead and initial and date as well. What is a TIO program continued? The TIO is a required element for OSHPD projects. Design professionals of record, or DPOR, may they maintain all aspects of the TIO program current. Evolving projects, OSHPD projects are rarely static. So this is something that you'll find that the design professional will come in and have to identify the tests and samples that are required in the ever-changing construction project. And if you've been a part of any construction project, you'll find that rarely any project, regardless of the size, is static. It's ever-changing. So, and which kind of leads me into another area of the presentation where we kind of emphasize that you as an IOR, you need to be able to go out there and be active in the project. You need to be able to go out there and have conversations with the contractors and the people doing the installation as to what's coming up and on the schedule. So we'll get more into that in a little bit. OSHPD projects are dynamic and require team collaboration and regular reference to the TIO for milestones. The format is the format we have on the website right now. It's an Excel format and it's downloadable. We have it both in Excel and PDF. But know that this format we have on our website is just a sample, and it can be used by DPORs. But the DPOR can develop their own project and to make it specific to their project. And it may be that we didn't identify some of the tests that are required for that specific project, and again, the DPOR would have a better sense of that. So consult with your DPOR or the design professional as to what tests are going to be required and what samples are required as well. The TIO in any format should not change the intent of the original approved plan, specifications, or code-required tests or inspections. I'll go back to that slide. Just remember that just because it's not on the TIO and it wasn't identified by the design professional, it may or may not have been an oversight where they failed to identify a required test in Chapter 17 or in the NFPA or what have you. So what we're saying is that because it's not on the TIO may not mean that it's not required. So check with your design professional. Instructions. The TIO instructions should clearly define the responsibilities of all the project participants. Instructions are optional, but are a good tool to help clarify test inspections and responsibilities. And again, I'll stress throughout the presentation that communication is key. If you have good communication with your design professional, with your compliance officers out there, with your district structural engineers or DSCs and fire life safety officers, you're going to be ahead of the game as opposed to just not picking up the phone and having a simple conversation. Monitoring of the TIO. Although DPORs bear the responsibility to administer the TIO, IORs also have and play an important role in monitoring the TIO. Monitoring of the TIO program includes verifying that tests and special inspections are appropriately performed on and off-site, performed by quality OSHPD approved entities, performed by independent entities, and reported, including a clear description of the work tested or inspected, as well as a definitive compliance statement, whether it complies or it doesn't comply. Poll question. What is a TIO program used for? Is it used to identify all tests for the project? Is it used to identify all inspections for the project? Used to identify all IORs on the project, or all of the above? And if you said all of the above, you're right. It's important because all of these three items, although are identified on the TIO is that and much more. So as an IOR, be familiar with the TIO. Please understand that the TIO form and the program is not your responsibility to administer, but it is your responsibility to make sure that whatever they identify on the TIO is being checked off and inspected. So who's responsible for what? So the owner is responsible for funding the project, general oversight of the project progress, and the performance of other associated with the development and implementation of the TIO. And guess what? Here we go again. The owner also employs the IOR. The design professional of record, or the DPOR, they coordinate with the owner, OSHPD staff, the IOR, and the design team. They also gather and distribute all verified compliance reports and test and special inspection reports. And here we go, the TIO program. This is theirs. The design professional delegate coordinates with the DPOR, with the main design professional, for all tests and inspections required on the project, in conducting field visits to observe and report conditions relative to their design. And they also submit VCRs at pre-identified milestones on the TIO. And here's a brief chart that helps identify that. So a DPOR, a design professional of record, can have a delegate, and a delegate can have an alternate, but an alternate cannot have an alternate. So it all, if you follow the chart back, it all falls back to the DPOR. Who is responsible for what continued? So what's your responsibility as an IOR? You oversee all the quality assurance of the project and reporting and validating of the work done by testing laboratories, owner-provided third-party agencies like the installing contractors, and the owner-provided third-party special inspectors as well. The IOR is also responsible for gathering, maintaining, and validating related test and inspection documents such as credentials of special inspectors, and that's the code section that says you have to do that, collection of OSHPD test and special inspection forms, distribution of OSHPD staff field reports to contractor, owner, and DPOR. You're also responsible for validating the work done by contractors, submitting VCRs to the DPOR as identified on the milestones on the TIO, keeping records relative to sign-offs, performing all IOR tests and inspections identified on the TIO as IOR responsibility. The hospitals, per this section in the administrative code, so CAC California Administrative Code section 7-144 says the hospital shall provide for competent, adequate, and continuous inspection by one or more IORs. When the hospital proposes more than one IOR, then this is what needs to happen. On the TIO, a lead IOR needs to be identified to coordinate and communicate with the office. All other IORs also need to be approved by OSHPD prior to working on the project. And on the TIO, you'll find that the IOR, the lead IOR, will be identified, and all of the other IORs shall be identified as to what scope of the project they're going to be responsible for inspecting. So, poll question: who is responsible for the TIO? Is it the IOR, hospital owner, DPOR, or the contractor? And if you thought the DPOR, you're right. I think we stressed that a couple of times. So I'm hoping you got it. IORs and inspections. So what's a competent inspection? It's reporting of all inconsistencies or seeming errors in the approved construction documents, preparing complete and accurate field reports for each day or portion of the day present at a job site, noting all construction deficiencies or deviations from the approved construction documents, and making sure you note the date, time, and method of correction for the deficiencies, and notifying the contractor in writing of any deficiencies from the approved construction documents which have not been immediately corrected by the contractor. So this is key. As you walk these jobs as an IOR, you'll find that you're on your way to do an inspection. You'll look at something and you'll say, "Hey, by the way, this isn't done. Don't cover it up until I approve it." And the response you might get is, "Well, we're not done with that work." So kind of keep walking. So if you find something that it is not right, then the contractor needs to correct it immediately. And if they don't correct it immediately, then you need to notify the owner, the contractor, and OSHPD in writing. Adequate inspection, what does that mean? So SOP 10-07 means it's a document on our website, Standard Operating Procedures 10-07, and it kind of clarifies what the adequate inspection is we're looking for. The IOR on the job site has to be on the job site and has obtained the required personal knowledge by continuous inspection. And we'll go into continuous inspection on the next slides. IOR personal knowledge, H&SC means Health and Safety Code, section 129830. And this is what it says. The inspector's personal continuous inspection of the work of construction in all stages of its progress at the site where the inspector is responsible for inspection. It also means that when work is carried away from the site, that personal knowledge that is obtained from reporting of others on the testing of or inspection of materials and workmanship for compliance with plans, specifications, or applicable standards. So an example of continuous inspections, it could be something like concrete pours. It could be something like masonry, spray applied fireproofing, etc. So it's continuous inspection is inspection of the work that cannot be inspected after it's placed, right? So if you're needing to look at the placement of the concrete and the specs call for a concrete vibrator needing to be used, you need to be sure that it's there. The concrete vibrator is there, being used as the right size. If it's too big, it might blow out the frame, the framing for it, etc. So your presence and your inspection is needed continuously during, as examples of these type of applications. IORs and inspections continued. The reporting of others, reasonable diligence shall be exercised in obtaining the facts, such as confirming the special inspector's qualifications, and we'll get more into that in the next slides. Periodic visits to the location where the off-site work is being performed to ensure that the appropriate qualified staff are present and ensure appropriate staff are performing their work in a competent, code-compliant manner. So a periodic inspection, this is something that can be inspected after it's installed, such as rough frame. So in a rough frame, you have rough electrical, rough plumbing, rough mechanical, and rough and structural members. You can inspect all of this stuff, the majority of stuff, I'd say 99% of the stuff, before it's covered up, but after it's installed. So this would be an example of periodic inspections. It's also important to note that IOR shall not have or assume any duties which will prevent you from doing the continuous inspection on these projects, which you've been approved for. So this code section here identifies what I just said, and the reason I have this picture of Southern California and the LA area is that you may be approved to work on two different projects that are 10, 15 miles apart, but because of unforeseen circumstances such as traffic, you won't be able to get from one job to the other, and you're not going to be able to perform your IOR duties as required. So poll question, should an IOR assume jobs even if it will prevent him or her from providing continuous inspection? Yes. Yes if approved by the design professional of record. Yes if jobs are close to each other. Or no. The answer is no. So if you can't do the job, it's probably best you don't take on the job because we'll get into OSHPD and IORs and what OSHPD will expect of you more than we already have and what we can get into. So observation by OSHPD, what do we do? During the construction of any health facility, the office or OSHPD shall make such observations such as in its judgment is necessary or proper for the enforcement of the regulations and all of the applicable parts in the California Building Standards Code. So that's usually Title 24, what people refer to it as, and it includes all of its parts. So this includes scheduled and non-scheduled visits by OSHPD. So know that just because we don't give you a heads up that we're going to stop by, we can stop by if it's on our way to another job and ask you to provide documentation as allows us in the code. And, we're hoping that you're there and doing the continuous inspections as needed. Best practice, again, communicate and establish with FDD or us, FDD, OSHPD, field staff, their intended observation plan and milestones and IOR inspection expectations. So again, communication is key. Be able to come in and use OSHPD as a resource to say, hey, listen, this is what we have going on this project. What are you going to want to see from me? And that's a great opportunity to discuss the project at length and better understand what we're looking for. OSHPD field visits. What's that going to include, and what should you do as an IOR? So the IOR needs to prepare documentation for various inspections to ensure inspections were adequately and competently conducted. The records need to be up to date with codes, plans, and specifications, and the approved changes. Need to have an up-to-date TIO, outstanding RFIs waiting on direction from the DPOR, show OSHPD how inspections and results have been organized, and be able to discuss the project process. Also be able to identify any problems being faced in the field, to discuss IOR and DPR communication with like frequency of meetings, and provide OSHPD a tour of the facility to outline progress and concerns. This is a point I want to stress, is to be able to go out, time permitting, walk the job site with the OSHPD rep field staff, and identify the sections that you're concerned with. You know, this is a great opportunity for you to further enhance that communication with OSHPD, and just have that communication and have the discussion, what code section applies, you know, what your concern is and why the concern is. And it may be a chance for you to discuss, you know, some of your oil items or outstanding items list. Be able to communicate with OSHPD field staff, RCOs, COs, DSCs, and FLSOs. Establish a meeting frequency like a phone call or virtual meeting. And use OSHPD reps for advice on each specialty, like COs, DSCs, and FLSOs. And if anything, you're seeing that one of the main points of today's webinar is to be able to have that open line of communication with OSHPD. Communication is key and is very, very, very important. Field staff and site visits continued. If OSHPD becomes the inspector for the work of construction, then something's gone wrong. You as an IOR are either having issues, problems, or difficulties working on that project, and OSHPD will move to correct that condition per the California Administrative Code, or CAC, Section 7-213. So keep in mind that there are disciplinary actions that OSHPD can take against an IOR for not doing the job. But one great thing to do that you can utilize and exercise is communication with us as to what's happening, so we can avoid any of the Section 7-213 actions there. So IOR needs to have a good communication skills, and IOR can help move the project along with a thorough understanding of the CAC, or the California Administrative Code. And if you don't know what the CAC is, it's a great section or a great code to become familiar with, only because that's the outline for so at least Chapter 7 is for the OSHPD projects, right? They're going to come in and it's going to explain to you exactly what the TIO is. It's going to explain to you exactly what IORs are expected to comply with. And even if you're an existing IOR and you're up for recertification, it's going to tell you what requirements are required for recertification onto the A, B, and C classes. So poll question: what is one of the main factors for an IOR success? Communication, up-to-date plans, organization of files and plans, or all of the above? Again, this is I hope it's common sense, but it's we're here to point it out. And again, communication, up-to-date plans is great. That's something that you'll be faced out on the job site, ever changing. Remember, we said that the projects are typically not static and always changing. So make sure you have up-to-date plans, and those plans have a stamp of approval on those. And make sure that you're out there inspecting to an approved set of construction documents. Very, very, very often you'll find that because the project is non-static, you're going to have RFIs coming out and you're going to have people saying, this is how we want you to build it. And well, you have to make sure that the detail or whatever the updated plan has the right delta on it, and that it has been reviewed and approved by OSHPD prior to inspecting to it. So if you see a set of plans out there or a detail that's not approved, ask the question, pause and ask the question, has it been approved by OSHPD? IOR daily reports and field records. Field records, per the section of the California Administrative Code, says that IORs need to provide a daily report while on the job. The report shall include time of arrival, departure, summary of work in progress, deficiencies in construction, and deviations from approved construction documents, date, time, and method of correction for deficiencies and deviations. I also want to add that I've seen reports where they also include the temperature outside, and they include what kind of weather the day had. And it's important because if you ever need to look back on your report and you want to know why the concrete didn't cure right, or why the intumescent paint on a structural member didn't do its job, you want to be able to say, well, look, it was too cold on this day, and I told them they shouldn't have applied it because it was, colder than allowed by the specifications for the material being applied, and it's going to be a record of your actions out there in the field, and it's going to help you down the line. So IOR shall maintain field records on site, and you need to include your daily reports. You also need to have all test and special inspection reports, a list of test reports for all non-conforming materials or defective workmanship, and shall indicate the method of correction. Approved construction documents like complete plans, specifications, addendas, and deferred submittals, and COs, etc. Of course, you need to have the TIO program and a building permit. So, field records continued. When we get into field records for the IOR, there are specific items in the code that says for concrete, in addition to the daily report, you need to make sure that you identify the time, date of placing for the concrete, time, date of removal of forms and shoring, location of defective concrete, and time and date of method of correction if there was an issue, and then a log of changes, and this includes all OSHPD's determination of materials change or not. And also, for welding, the code also wants all of this to be identified in your daily report when it comes to welding. And you need to identify ID marks of welders, list of defective welds, manner of correction of defects, and other related events. For pile-driven foundation, the administrative code also wants location, i.e. grid lines and proximity to. And I'll pause here, and I'll use this suggestion to tell everybody that it's also a great idea in your daily report, if you're out there inspecting on a large project or even a small project, a certain area, whether it's plumbing, electrical, structural, fire sprinkler alarms, or what have you, to identify where on the project you did your inspection, and identify the grid lines in your daily report. For example, if you're going out doing an inspection of rough plumbing on a project and it's on the second floor, on your daily report, identify what sheet, what grid line, whether it's J12 in room number 125, to better help identify what section of the project you inspected. And that suggestion is a great suggestion for any inspection that you do out in the field. So coming back to driven pile foundations, identify the length, penetration under the last 10 blows for each pile, and description of the piles used, the name, the model number, and also include the description of the equipment condition being used. Poll question. Are IORs required to maintain daily reports for every day or portion of the day when they are on the job site? Yes, no, or sometimes. Answer is yes. Construction deviations. So what happens if you see something that doesn't look right? So hospital construction projects are often very complicated. Because of their complexity, the project often requires tests for information, RFIs, which at times changes the details and other aspects of construction and subsequently requires the project to be built out of line from the approved construction document. So what do you do? If the IOR encounters deviations from the approved construction documents, then you need to make sure the contractor is aware of the deviations, like we mentioned before. If the deviations are not corrected immediately, notify the contractor, architect, engineer, and OSHPD in writing. Copies of those notifications need to be forwarded to the DPOR owner and OSHPD. Is the IOR required to notify the owner and OSHPD in writing of all construction deviations? Yes, no, only if it's not corrected immediately by the contractor, or no vote. Only if it's not corrected immediately by the contractor, and that's important. Notices to OSHPD. What do you need to send into OSHPD? So you as an IOR, need to have copies of the deviations from the approved construction document notices when the work has started or resumed on the project, and at least 48 hours in advance of the time when the foundation trenches will be complete, ready for footing or forms, at least 48 hours in advance of the first placing of concrete, and when work has been suspended for a period of more than 2 weeks. So these are all reasons to send OSHPD notices. So this is going to happen when you are out on the job and you're having conversations with the contractors, you're going to meetings, construction meetings, and keeping up to date on the job. One thing that we wanted to point out is, as an IOR, it's not your job to sit in a construction trailer and wait for an inspection request. You actually need to go out there and you need to be active in the project. You need to have those conversations, have that line of communication with everybody involved on the job, because that's going to give you a keen understanding of the project, and not only of what's up and coming as far as work to be done, but also typical issues that you're finding out on the job. And walking and talking with the people doing the work, you'll find that, hey, so and so is having issues installing, an electrical conduit because they ran into a plumbing line. So what are we going to do there? So that's, keep up on the project, and stuff like that is always helpful. The California Energy Commission forms, or the CEC forms, this is something new to OSHPD that's been introduced in the California Administrative Code. And we'll briefly go over what it means for the IOR. So before we get there, we'll go ahead and identify what are they. So the forms identified on the TIO by the DPOR are required to be completed under the purview of the installing contractor when it comes to the CEC documents. And the document is going to say, identify what was installed to meet the CEC non-residential compliance forms. And just kind of a FYI, as we see the next slides, the field technician is the installing contractor. Licensed installing contractor equals a responsible person. So the field technician declaration statement, what they're going to sign and date and provide all the information. And what they're doing is they're saying, hey, I, as a field tech or the installing contractor, under penalty of perjury, I installed what the material is on the job site per the approved construction documents, and to the best of my knowledge is code compliant. And the same thing is true for the responsible person or the licensed contractor. They, under penalty of perjury, are coming in and saying what's installed is approved per the approved construction documents to the best of their knowledge. So what's your responsibility as an IOR? Upon completion of the CEC forms, the IOR will review for compliance with the approved construction documents and the TIO program and indicate their concurrence with an initial and date on the TIO. These documents are submitted to the IOR by the author of the report per this section, and the record shall be made available upon request at the project by submitted to the hospital owner upon the project completion. And these records can also be asked to be produced by OSHPD, a field staff, when they come visit the job. So if you have any more information, or if you need any more information about the CEC forms, this is a good contact information form, whether it's the 1-800 number. Outside of California, you can use that phone number there, the 916, or you can send an email to title24@energy.ca.gov. Is the IOR required to complete the California Energy Code forms or the CEC forms? Yes, no, or no vote. No, you are not required to complete them. You are required to make sure they're completed, which is different, and part of the records. And now we have a guest IOR, Mr. David Carina. He is with the ACIA. And David, if you can bear with me, I'm going to go ahead and unmute you here in a little bit so you can provide some experiences that you may have had out in the field as an IOR. So please bear with me. I'm going to find you here on the list. And you unmuted, David. Hello, Dave. Dave, you there? Okay. Well, it looks like hey, Dave, are you there? I can hear someone. Okay. Well, with that being said, we have looks like we can't get a hold of Dave. I see ya. But we'll go ahead and on to the next portion of the presentation, which is the Q&A session. So we'll come in and look at the questions that have been asked and answered. We'll go over those first. And the question is, I never received an attachment to copy. Also, can I get a copy of the PowerPoint presentation emailed to me? So yes, of course, you can go ahead and get a copy of it. All you have to do is email us at oshpd.ca.gov, and we can go ahead and send you the presentation in the PDF form. So next question. The question is, one of your comments of IOR duties was to enforce the code. Is the IOR responsible for code enforcement or instead to inspect construction work for conformance with the approved design drawings and specifications? And I believe, Joe, if you're there, if you wouldn't mind providing the answer or reading the answer that you provided, that'd be great.
Sorry about that, Caesar. I tuned out just for a second looking for Dave, but can you repeat the question on that one?
Yeah, the question was, one of the comments for the IOR duties was to enforce the code. Is the IOR responsible for enforcement or instead to inspect construction work for conformance with the approved design drawings and specifications?
Yeah, so you're the person asking the question was absolutely correct. The IOR is not enforcement. They're not the enforcing regulating body. OSHPD is the regulating body. So the OSHPD field staff will be the ones who do the enforcement, but it is the IOR's duty to identify errors or seeming errors or contradictions or discrepancies and bring them to the attention of the design professional of record and, of course, the contractor, the owner, and the OSHPD field staff for follow-up action, whatever that might be.
All right. Next question we have is, just for clarification, on the last webinar, as they understood it, what was said about the A test was that there will be 80 questions roughly from 40 from the administrative code and 40 structural questions and 80 questions from plan reading. Is this correct? Joe, would you mind answering that?
I'm sorry, guys. I am multitasking here, trying to close a loop with Dave, but I'm going to just assume that if Dave can call in, he will, and not try that again. So, Caesar, if you could ask it again, I apologize. Or have somebody else answer.
This question is back to the going back to the IOR exam, OSHPD exams. It says, as I understood it from the last webinar, the A test was that there was going to be 80 questions roughly, 40 from the CAC and 40 from structural questions and 80 questions from plan reading. Is this correct?
Yeah, that's well. There's 80 questions total on the code reading, and there's 80 questions total on the plan reading. And now the emphasis on the code portion of it is structural and admin, but however, all the other disciplines are included. It's just that the emphasis on structural and admin. And I think James followed up, or no, I guess Nancy followed up as well. The old test was 100 questions long. This one's 80 questions long. And so you have the same amount of time to answer fewer questions.
Okay, and James Penn, if you can unmute yourself, this question looks like you answered it, but I'm going to go ahead and read it out loud for the attendees. The question is, concrete pours are generally defined as continuous inspections for special inspectors. Does this mean that the IOR and special inspectors will both be performing continuous inspection during a concrete pour?
Yes, the IOR, you are the pretty much the inspector of record for our project, and although numerous inspections are considered special inspections, the IOR shall be present on site to first confirm the individuals is indeed the approved individual for the project, and the person actually is conducting special inspection as required by the approved construction documents. And as an IOR, you do not need to be there full-time on site. However, you need to be there. And also, if you refer to CAC Section 7145 in the reporting requirements of the IOR, it is required for concrete placement. And in addition, you need to contact the field staff too for the first placement of concrete.
Thank you, James, for that. And Dave, are you there now? Can you hear me? Dave, Karina? Okay. Looks like we'll continue on with the question and answer section. Do OSHPD compliance officers typically review all RFIs to determine if there are materially altered change, or is that up to the IOR to request the CO to review? And James, I believe you had answered that. Would you mind answering that, please?
Yes, this subject is in CAC Section 153, which is about amended construction documents and what is non-material altered change and what is material altering change. So my suggestion is to discuss with the field staff and then the DPOR at the beginning of the project to determine who will be the person in charge of distribution the RFIs to field staff. Because as the IOR, your inspection duties are per the approved construction document, as your basis of inspection is not by the RFIs. So unless the RFI is confirmed and accepted by field staff and uses the basis of inspection, you do not have any role in the RFI process, especially when the RFI resulted in a material altered change, which require an amended construction document to be submitted to OSHPD for approval. So just discuss with the field staff and DPOR at the beginning.
Perfect. And I got another question for you, James. The question is regarding to smaller projects and the compliance officer sign-offs. The question reads, says, hello, on smaller projects, can the compliance officer sign off on the TIO for structural items such as drilled in anchor installations, or does this have to be signed off by the DSE?
For this subject, we believe the 2016 TIO on a couple items that it has changed to the compliance officer. However, like I said before, always communication is a core value of OSHPD and also for the project team. So communicate that with the OSHPD field staff, because if the project only have 4 wedge anchors, the DAC is unlikely to visit the site to sign out that 4 wedge anchors. And compliance officer is the field staff that will visit every project. So discuss that with the compliance officer. However, if there's any changes to that wedge anchor design that require calculations, the compliance officer will not be able to review the calculations and will defer to the DAC. So I'll talk to the field staff first and get it at the beginning of the project.
Perfect. I have a question regarding the identification of all IORs, and the question reads, in poll question part C of the TIO program, identify all IORs are not all the names of the special inspectors assigned to perform the work requiring special inspections, i.e. reinforced concrete, masonry, etc., also be listed on the program form. And I believe, James, you had answered that one as well. Is that something you can
yes, that poll question, I believe, whoever submitted questions, you are correct. All the qualifying and approved special inspectors' name need to be included in the TIO. So usually, what I've seen as a DAC is that those individuals' names are attached in either a binder or matrix, and and then the IOR, you confirm the individuals when they show up at the job site. However, that poll question, special inspector is not one of the possible answers, and that's why it's not in the pool of questions.
All right, and this is something. This is a question that I'll ask either James or Joe to answer. The question is, if either continuous or periodic inspections are required for most structural and MEP work, then how do some IORs get away with being approved for multiple projects across multiple healthcare facilities?
I can chime in a little bit on that. Although I'm not the RCO, it all depends on the workload and the past experience or performance of the IOR. So if the IOR has the workload and availabilities, the proposed IOR could be approved as the IOR for many projects, and even special inspection on small projects, the IOR may be the special inspector.
Yeah, I'll weigh in on that one too.
The questions.
I can weigh in on that one too, James. Yeah, and that's a big concern because there's a shortage of IORs. We need IORs. We need good inspection and QA people, and so the regional compliance officers, the RCOs, are constantly looking at the workload of the IORs to make sure that they have the bandwidth to be able to do the work that they're taking on. And you're right; they're looking at structural, they're looking at MEP work, they're looking at other things, and sometimes they could be spanning long distances across crowded urban areas. It sounds like we might have Dave with us now. So it's a very it's a little bit of a challenge for the RCOs. They have to try to decide and discern whether or not an IOR has the bandwidth to be able to take on projects, and if he doesn't, then they're denied. Dave, can you hear us now? Are you out there? I thought I heard you just a second ago.
I saw Dave. He came in, and then it sounded like we were able to hear him, but I don't see him on the list anymore.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yeah, there you are. Bingo.
Oh my goodness, there we go. Finally. If anybody
Technology, what a kick, huh?
Appreciate the text back and forth, Joe. If anybody could see all the stuff we were trying to do here. All right.
Well, they could tell by now I wasn't able to answer any of the questions, but anyways, go ahead, Dave.
Great job. Okay, so I'll try to get through this like Caesar did, clear, concise, complete, and correct here. What my choice to be an OSHPD IOR means to me personally is that for me it was a natural transition from being a builder to being an IOR. And after 18 years, it has been proven to me to be an excellent career decision. So if you're deciding, this is the job for you, especially if you're one of the people listening to this is your third time being here. Being an IOR is a very highly respected profession in the hospital construction industry. Knowing my inspections ensure safety for the lives of the future occupants of the building is something that's very personally rewarding. An example is that you're out there making sure that all the structural, the concrete, the footings, the mechanical, electrical, plumbing, med gas, accessibility, everything is as it has been approved on the plans. Knowing that you have the support of the OSHPD field staff is always available is also a valuable reassurance that I'm going to be successful, and that's what's also available to you. Example of that is, as Caesar had explained, the through email, phone calls to your CO, FLSO, DSE for guidance, clarifications. The only dumb question is the one you don't ask. So if you're in doubt, you pick up the phone. They're there to support you. Prepare an agenda when you know that you have a scheduled field visit. Add comments for resolution if you have any issues that they are observing with you out in the field. Piggybacking on what Caesar had mentioned about daily reports, the CAC 7-145A1 is where it talks about your daily reports, and it also talks about your continuous inspection. Good IOR doesn't just sit in a trailer waiting for an IOR to come across on the email. You want to routinely circulate around the job site, speak with all the trades, taking photographs. If you see any deficiencies, you notify them immediately. Follow it up with an email so you have something to confirm that they've been notified. Attach it to your daily report. Inspecting material deliveries when they arrive. Do it on the truck before they get unloaded, so that if they that prevents a lot of time loss, because a lot of times people will unload a lot of material, turns out to be something that wasn't approved. So keeping abreast of what's going on your project is really going to help. List those activities also on your daily reports. Special inspectors that are working with different IORs and different projects observe different IOR methods of inspections. They have a bit of an advantage because they get to see how the different IORs apply their knowledge. Also, knowing that OSHPD, that my network with OSHPD and ACIA are always available, is another resource that ensures my any successful project. Building your network with other IORs, with the field staff, architects and engineers, anybody that can provide information based on their experience. You want to really reach out to these people, especially if it's something that's new to you and you haven't done it before. So covering some of the things that are going to help you decide to make your choice, or tell you what your choice will mean to you when you become an IOR. It is a great career choice. Once you get that certification, you're now considered an industry professional. If you like challenge, if you like learning, networking, being a valuable member of a team that's known for collaborative excellence, this is the job for you. Working with professionals like architects, engineers, field staff, it's considered definitely a daily learning experience. No two projects are alike. You're always learning, improving your skills and the value that you bring to each project. Availability of continuing education through OSHPD, ACIA, CSI, AIA, so many different professional organizations help you to apply what you learn, continually improving your skills and increasing your value to each project. You always have the support of the OSHPD field staff. They're a great resource. Like I said before, make sure you have their phone numbers, stay in contact with them. You also have the support of the network that you now have, and you'll continue to build throughout your career. And your contribution to hospital safety for many years after construction on each project is something that'll be personally rewarding. You're going to be a valuable member of something great. And that's all I've got for you. So I know you want to keep the time going.
Perfect. Thank you, Dave, for that. Want to be able to come and share with everybody that, being an IOR is, if you're already an IOR, it's a great profession. If you have concerns, if you have questions, or, you want to know a little bit more about OSHPD, or, have a question about a specific project, feel free to reach out to us. You have our email address. It's oshpd.fddisu, oshpd.ca.gov. Or if you're someone who is not an IOR and want to know a little more as to how to qualify, how to meet the minimum requirements, send us an email as well. We're more than willing to have that conversation with you. If you know folks that are out there and are just kind of contemplating going down the IOR path, reach out to OSHPD, reach out to ISU, and that's what we're here for. We're here to answer questions and provide clarification. So also know that, as a reminder, we will have another presentation in 2 weeks, so part of the 5-part series. So feel free to log in and register for that. And the remainder of the series, email us again. The email address, I know I went through it a little quick. It's oshpd.fddisu@oshpd.ca.gov. If you didn't get a copy of the presentation and you'd like one, email us. I know we went over about 4 minutes on our time, but we appreciate you being here. We appreciate you listening to us. And more than anything, we want to be a tool in your tool belt to help you with your IOR career, or if you're looking to get into being an IOR, we're here to answer those types of questions as well. So again, thank you for joining us, and we hope to see you again in our next 2 presentations and any other future presentations that we'll have. And you can know about those presentations if you sign up for our listserv on our website to receive automatic notifications in your email box for any further presentation or training opportunities that OSHPD may have. So again, we here at OSHPD want to thank you, And I know it's a little before lunch, so enjoy and enjoy the rest of your day. And we'll see you soon.